Welcome to the Ask the Divorce Whisperer. Thank you so much for joining us today on this live Facebook event where our goal is to demystify divorce and help people facing the crisis of divorce make good decisions for themselves and know about resources that might be available to them that they otherwise would not know about. So my name is Marta Papa, and I'm your host for this event. And I'm a divorce attorney and a divorce mediator for over 30 years. And my goal for this event is to help my clients, as well as anybody facing divorce, know as much as they can, as much as possible, about the obstacles in front of them and how they can jump over those obstacles in front of them, some by themselves, and some really require an expert to help you. If you're getting divorced, your team is not just the divorce lawyer. It's a lot bigger than the divorce lawyer if you're going to do it right and come up with a result that is a better life than the life you had before you got divorced. And so it's our goal to help you do that here today. And so we have Asked the Divorce Whisperer the first and third Friday of every month at 1:00. We also repost it on Zoom, and on YouTube afterwards. So if something from this post really strikes you, or you think you have a friend that you think this information would be valuable for the friend, you can review this again for free on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and type in Ask the Divorce Whisperer, and all of our episodes will show up. And they have a title of the name of the person that I interviewed. And I think it has a date and an episode number. And so you can find it and share it with your friend or review it again yourself. So we encourage you to do that if it could help someone else, because we're all in this together, aren't we? So today I have the delight of introducing someone who is just awesome at what she does. Her name is Langston, and she's a certified divorce lending professional. So the outside world may look at her just as a lender, as someone that can loan you money to buy a house. But she's really more than that. She's gone on in her schooling and education and become a certified divorce lending professional. And so that makes certain that she understands all of the aspects of divorce that hover over Jack and Jill, or Jane and Joan, when they're getting divorced. When you get divorced, the divorce laws apply to you, but some of the things that you're doing during the divorce, like refinancing the house, selling the house, buying a house, all of those things, there are different statutes and different rules and internal revenue code rules and that are hovering over you that weren't there if you weren't getting divorced. And the lender really needs to know those, because you don't know those. Your lawyer doesn't know those. I don't sit around reading the Internal Revenue Code. So I refer to an expert to make sure everything that we're doing in the divorce has the best tax consequences for my client or my clients in mediation, for them as a group, as a whole. So hopefully that's a good introduction or leadway into introducing you to Langston, who's a certified professional at doing this. So let's go ahead and take this second and let Ann say hi from where she is.
Hi, guys.
Hi to him.
Hi. Thanks.
And I'm going to refer to you as Ann. Is that all right?
Yes,
Okay.
of course.
And we're going to ask Ann. I'm going to ask Ann the one question that I ask every divorce professional that I have on this show. Mm-hmm. And that is, if someone you really cared about was getting divorced, mm-hmm. and you could only give them one piece of advice, mm-hmm. what would that piece of advice be? That's hard. If you're in this community or this is your job and you have to boil it all down to one piece of advice, that means it's a really important piece of advice. So let's go ahead and get started and ask Anne that question. If someone you really cared about was getting divorced and you had to boil all your knowledge down into just one piece of advice, what might that piece of advice be?
Thanks for having me, Marta. And yes, that one piece of advice would be to get a trusted advisor. What people don't realize, and I'll tell a little bit about that with my story here in a little bit, but when you wake up from divorce, well, you actually don't wake up from it. When you're in the middle of a divorce, you're in this thing we call it divorce brain. You're in this bubble and you really can't see outside of that bubble because you're kind of in shock. You'll wake up every morning, how did I get here? Why am I here? Why is this happening to me? You're embarrassed. So you're not asking your closest friends, your parents, your whoever, because you might feel like a failure. There might be several reasons why you won't ask for help. But that's why you need somebody like Marta, who's an excellent advisor. You need a trusted advisor. And a lot of times people go to their divorce attorneys because they need to see, they don't know the questions they don't know to ask. Because they're in this bubble. They can't see past it. So they need the guidance of somebody like Marta or myself who can take them through that and see past that, past what that they just can't see. We help them see in the future, like, hey, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? Let's make sure you're covered and secured here. So that's why you need somebody. And that'd be my one piece of advice. Get a trusted advisor. If it's not a local friend, make it your attorney, make it your mortgage lender, make it your realtor, whoever you trust to help you see past what you can't see at the moment.
I think that's wonderful advice. I couldn't agree more. Wonderful advice. If you just go away with this one piece of advice, you learned a lot today in watching this presentation. You need a trusted advisor. And I've never heard this term before, but I love it. And I'm probably going to steal it if it's okay.
That's fine.
You're in a divorce bubble. Having gone through my own divorce from an attorney, two attorneys divorcing and one child to try and figure out custody for, it is divorce brain. It's all you think about. And you worry about 100 things when really you should be worrying about 3 things. When you put your head on your pillow at night to go to sleep, it's hard to go to sleep because it all comes to your brain, that monkey brain of well, what about this? And what if this? And what if it rains on Thursday? And just everything feels scary because you've never been there before. You don't know the ropes. You don't know what to do. You don't know what your spouse could come up with to hurt you. And it is like a bubble and it is like a divorce brain. Your brain is defensive. Your brain is on the defense. You don't think anything good's going to happen from this. Your brain's on the defensive. And it's hard to see past that line in the sand well, I think of it as a fence. When you're not divorced, but you're thinking about it or you're going through it, you're on the left side of the fence. And then when you get divorced, you're on the right side of the fence. So at some point you hopped over that fence, not necessarily when the judge signed the decree, but mentally at some point you hopped over that fence of I'm married to I'm not married. Now, what am I going to do with my life and how am I going to move forward? My goals are going to be different. My insurance is going to be different. Where I live might be different. So many things are different. And so you need help jumping over that fence and jumping into the grass on the other side of the fence, grass that's good for you, the shore, the safe shore that is going to take care of you and allow you to take care of yourself and children if you have children. So I love that if people go away with the thought of divorce brain or divorce bubble and they can't get out of it, but other people around them can see through it, have been through it, have been trained in it, and they know what questions to ask you to get you to where you need to be safe, happier, and more successful or more content on the other side of that fence. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I'd love to take just a minute and share a little bit about my story so you can see where
Absolutely.
I'm coming from.
Absolutely.
Um, so I have three grown children. They're all married. Um, and I also have three grandchildren, a 12-year-old grandson and two granddaughters, 7 and 6, so lovely family. But so I've been a mortgage lender for over 21 years. I first became a mortgage lender because I got divorced with little children. So it was the typical story. We move into this house. It's a house that took both of our incomes to afford.
Right.
And a month into living there, we decide to get a divorce, and it's like, oh no, do I want, it's the common question. Can I afford to stay?
Yeah.
Can I afford to move? What am I going to do? I
Yeah.
don't want my children to leave the house that they're secure in. I
Yeah.
want them to have that
Yeah.
safe haven. I want them to stay in the same schools, the same questions everybody has. So I've been through that, and I wasn't a mortgage lender at the time. So I actually took a job to be a mortgage lender because I wanted to stay in my home. And the only way I could do that was actually, I know it's crazy, go commission sales, because I knew I was in control of my income and I could just work harder to make the bills get paid. So that's how I became a lender. Flash forward 15 years, my kids are all grown, but I'm looking at divorce again. I've been remarried for 10 years, and that was where my divorce brain kicked in. I was in shock. I was in this bubble, waking up. I can't believe, I was embarrassed. I felt like a failure. How can I be going through divorce again? It's horrible. And owning a home again, I was in a different situation that people find themselves in. My people were, my kids were grown. I didn't feel like I wanted to stay in the home anymore. I didn't want those memories there. So sometimes people, when they're in the middle of divorce, home to everybody is their safe place, the place that they can go home and they feel less stress. So the home is where a lot of times people, hold that value of what they want to do, and it can be either one. It can be, I want to stay in the home because that's where my children are and they want to stay in their schools and I want to keep them secure. And then the other one is, no, I want new memories. I want out. Can I afford the new home? Send me somewhere, and I've actually lived through both of those. And so at that time, that was 5 years ago that I got the divorce. That's when I became a certified divorce lending professional, because I saw the gap that was there, that I didn't have a trusted advisor to go to. And I needed a trusted advisor. Even knowing all of that and being through it, I needed new everything, new financial planner, new insurance, new mortgage, new everything, because I wanted out of that house. And, so I personally have gone through that. And then now I've had the training to help other people go through that. So that's what I want to be them. For them is their support. How can I support them? And which decision do they want to make? Because everybody wants a home. They want to go home and feel less stressful.
Yes.
And so I want to help them make that decision, which is the best home for them.
Yes.
And they may not have that choice, unfortunately, as you know. Some people may not be able to stay even if they want to.
Yeah.
But
Right.
maybe I can make it easy for them to find a house that makes them happy and makes them and their children happy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my goal. I want to support them in their new, so that when they come out of this bubble, they're happy in a home that makes them feel safe and secure.
Yeah. And so can I just repeat back to you
Sure.
how important the things are that you're saying? I've done I've helped more than 15,000 couples divorce. And I have to tell you, usually when they're talking to the lender at bank of whatever, that person is just lending money, and they're sending it down to underwriting to see if their asset to debt ratio is okay, and how long have they been at that job, and how long have they been receiving child support, and are they really receiving child support, and is it going to be long enough? And those underwriters have all these rules that they have to follow to help make sure that they're lending to somebody who's safe, who's going to be able to make that mortgage payment. And that's what's on their mind, is doing their job, right? What's on their mind is not, how can I help make this person happy? How can I find out what this person really needs besides what they're saying? What are they saying underneath their words or in their body language? How can I help that person land where they need to land so they have the best choice, the best possibility of success and contentment and success at paying their mortgage so they don't go bankrupt or lose their house. So I have to tell you, I've worked with hundreds of mortgage lenders, and that is not what they talk to me about when I talk with them. It's all about debt to asset ratio and their FICO score and this and that and how big the house is and their income. They are not thinking about, wow, is this person landing on a safe shore and a shore where they can build a new life with or without their children? They just don't go that far. And it's not to criticize the big banks, or it's not to criticize those people. They just don't know. They're not divorced. They've never gone through a divorce. They've never had to make these decisions for themselves. It's just, it's a money addition problem. I mean, it's addition and subtract. It's a math equation. Do you fit into the equation? And so I want to tell our audience that when people come back to me and say, oh, I'm going to use bank X because we've been banking with them for 25 years. They know us. We go to the same church or synagogue. They know us. It's not going to be a problem. And I'm looking at the numbers thinking, you're going to have a little bit of a problem here. Or you could have a problem. And I don't know if they will qualify for a mortgage. I'm not educated in that. I'm not the one that makes the decision either. So they go talk to that person, and the person says, came back from underwriting. No, you can't afford that much in a house, or you can't afford to refi and buy your spouse out. And they're shocked because they think that person is their friend, and that person is their friend. They don't mean them ill will, but they have to follow the rules. And so it's a 5-minute conversation or less. Yes, underwriting said yes, or no, underwriting said no. You have to come down $100,000 on the house, or $500 on the house, whatever it is. And that's where the conversation stops. And I can tell you from personal experience, when people call Ann, it's not a 5-minute conversation, it's a half an hour conversation. And I'm like, what did you talk about for half an hour? And she doesn't charge. And that's what she's talking to people about, is she's helping them see on the other side of the bubble. They're still in the bubble, but she's helping them focus on the other side of the bubble of, here's what it's going to be like. Here's what your house is going to be worth in the future. This is a good investment. It's a bad investment. Or, yeah, maybe you can get that much money, but then you have $5 a month left over, discretionary funds. That's just it's house poor. It's just way too scary to do. Can I suggest XYZ? Or she even talks to them about what their goals are with the house. You think you're happy here, but I wonder if you could expand your thoughts to, maybe there's someplace better. Maybe there isn't, but maybe there is. And here's how it's going to affect your life. And would that feel more free and more, would you feel more secure if you went down that path to the right instead of the path to the left? So she can go all the way down that path with you, where other mortgage lenders, when they're doing their job, they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do, can't go there. They can't go there. It hasn't happened to them. They can't go there. And they have a lot of people that they're responsible for, and they can't put that much emotional energy into you, into the person getting divorced, but because it takes away from everything else they have to do for the bank. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that completely. A lot of people are just in numbers. Hey, can I do the loan XXX? And I like to think a little bit outside of the box. I want to look at big picture. I want to ask the questions nobody's asking, and that you're not asking yourself. You know
to ask yourself.
You don't know to ask yourself because you can't see outside the bubble. It's like, I didn't even think of that. So I will ask them those questions. Is this really your goal? What is your true goal years from now? This is a long-term game for me. I may not get the loan for years, if ever, but at least they know going into it, if they can afford the house that they're in, to either stay or to purchase the next one. And I bring up things that, one of the craziest things that people forget to think about when they're in a home, like say they want to stay, and one of the people in a relationship want to stay and they have children. do they want to see that person with their children in that home with somebody new? And then those memories. And
Yeah.
I've had that discussion over and over and over with people. It's like, you don't think that right now, and they may not be seeing anybody and claiming that they're not going to see anybody, but they will in time. Everything changes. Even if things are amicable at the moment, doesn't mean they'll remain that way. So we have to support you. We have to make sure you're prepared for you, whoever I'm talking to, whichever spouse I'm talking to, so that's what I like to do. I like to help them if they need. I'm not a credit repair person, but a lot of times one of them will need credit repair. Or I will say, hey, you need X amount of time back in the workforce if you've been a stay-at-home mom. Let me help you, tell you when you will qualify for that home. And then just hopes that either through that or for referrals that you refer me to other people, eventually it all comes around. I'll get a loan out of it, but I am not going to stick you into a loan just to stick you into a loan because you qualify for it. So that's my basic philosophy.
How much thought goes into that? That is great. That is great. I love what you say about you don't want the house. It's okay if your spouse lives there, that's all right. But how will you feel if someone else moves in and replaces you into that house?
Yes.
And I've never heard anybody ask that. I'm from Texas, and I know a country western song about that. A guy driving by in his pickup, and he says, "There's my house, there's my home, there's my wife, there's my kids in the backyard. That's my dog. That's the tree I planted in the backyard before I put the fence up. Who is that man living my life?"
Right.
Who is that man?
Right.
And so he did everything around his family and who is country western song,
Sure.
but it's something to think about when you drive by. It's like, okay, who has taken over for me? Because everything else looks exactly the same, but I'm not in the picture. Somebody else is in the picture. And how did that happen? And my picture is ugly in a great big apartment complex, and
jealousy kicks in.
22-year-olds and and I'm 55. What the heck am I doing here? And I just did it because I could afford it real quick and sign a lease real quick for a while. Sometimes they don't really think about it until 6 months after the divorce of, okay, I'm extremely unhappy here, and my kids are uncomfortable here, not enough room. What do I do now? And now you're faced with another huge life-altering, buying, selling a house, life-altering decision. It alters your life. It alters your life for good or for bad. It alters your life. And so if our listeners think about what's going on in Anne's brain instead of the divorce brain, wow, how much more comprehensive is that? And I got to tell you, most people, it's a 5-minute conversation. Let me give it to the underwriters, and I'll call you back or leave you a message on your voicemail. You qualify or you don't. I mean, that's what happened to me. You qualify or you don't. I mean, nobody. How long do you want to live here? And I didn't think that whole thing through. I didn't have a team.
No, and that's us. We need to be that team for them to think what they can't think of. Ask the questions they don't even know to ask.
Yeah, how smart. And right there, they don't even know the questions to ask. And so how do they figure out what questions to ask? You tell.
We tell them, yeah. And I feel like I'm a counselor sometimes, even though I'm not, and I don't want to be a counselor, but they open up to me. And through those discussions, we figure out a lot that they may not have thought of, and I want to make sure they're looking big picture down the road, because that's where they want to end up. We want to get them in a home. They want somewhere to feel safe and secure again once they've been divorced, and that's their home. Yes. So that's what I want to do for them.
Yeah. Wow. What an honorable profession. What an honorable way to live your life of helping people find a place that they can call home, where they feel safe, where they are safe, and where they can be themselves and be okay in their own skin, and live with leisure instead of worry there. what an honorable thing to do. We're getting close to the end of this session. I'm going to give you an opportunity to give another piece of advice if you would like to. Is there anything else you would like to sort of close with?
Mostly that you need, to the clients and the people out there who are going through divorce, they need to find a good divorce attorney like Marta, or they need to talk to somebody like me, and then just have a conversation with us, see where it goes, see how we can support you, ask the questions, because you're going to be in a situation where you don't know who to trust, who to go to for help. So you need to find that person. No matter who it is, you need to find that person and listen to their advice. Somebody who preferably has been through it, because otherwise you don't know how it feels or what you've been through. And you need to talk to that person and get some help. And, because I know Marta and I, we want to support you. We want to support you, the person who's getting divorced, in the best way possible. And with the experience that we have, we can do that. So our conversations are confidential. I'm not an attorney, but I surely don't share what I talk to you about.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to leave people with, is I'm here to support them for the long haul. It's not just a quick conversation.
And just to end, what a great note to end on. Don't get caught up in the short haul of, I just want to have the house and my spouse can't have it. All right. In a defensive way like that, or in a hurtful way, but you're probably justified in your hurt. But you can hold a hot stone in your hand and think you're going to throw it at your spouse, but you never throw it. And who gets burned? You do, and not your spouse. And so I have a case like that right now of, I don't want him to have that house just because I don't want him to live better than me. And I won't be able to afford a house that much. So that costs that much. So I want to do it for vengeance purposes. And I totally get it. They're entitled to their feelings. It's a judgment-free zone here. I totally get it, but where are you going to land? Where are you going to land? And a lot of times clients can't figure that out without the kinds of questions you're asking them and the investigation that you're doing of what are their options. What kind of options do they have? So who better to have to, I mean, if your lender's doing that, oh my God, the other people on your team, along with the lender, wow, you got a whole cheerleading section there. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It seems so short, but thanks so much
for having me,
joining us today, and letting our listeners know that there are lenders out there with additional qualifications, although their qualifications are fine. They've been a lender for a long time, but other things might come into the mix that really help you during the divorce. Like the person's already been divorced and they understand that, and they've been divorced this way, they've been divorced that way, and so they get it. You don't need to feel embarrassed. They get it. You're not a loser in their mind, and they're really here to help you form a team around you, and they are a very important part of that team that's going to help define the way you live the rest of your life. How important is that? And we have people out there certified to do that, extra training to be able to do that. So thank you so much, Ann Langston. Can you give our listeners a phone call number, a phone number, or an email where they can reach you?
Sure. The easiest would probably just go to my website because it has everything. It's loanswithann.com. Ann has no E on it. So just loanswithann.com. That way you can call me or text me from there. You can email me from there, or you can find out about me.
Okay.
So,
all right.
That's the best way.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much for your time. And if anybody has questions, and you're free to talk to them if they call or contact you. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much. And we'll see you in 2 Fridays. We'll see you soon. Thanks so much. Bye.